What's going on, guys? Welcome back to another edition of Blockbuster Breakdown. On today's show, we are talking a lot of things, comic book movies. Idris Elba is now Deadshot. What is going on? X-Men Dark Phoenix trailer, Christopher Nolan, he's got a new movie in the works. All that and more on today's edition of Blockbuster Breakdown. We will see you guys in just one moment. Alright, what is going on, guys? Welcome back to another edition of Blockbuster Breakdown. Mike, I believe this is episode 30. Correct me if I'm wrong.
I think that sounds right.
Let me
we're going
see.
by...
Excuse me, no. Today is episode 31. Last week 31. Was 30.
Yeah,
but,
I missed that one.
Yeah, so Mike is back. He hasn't been on the news edition of the show in a couple weeks, but he has been busy at work between shows. I know you got quite a few productions going on.
We just last week we finished up. Well, 2 weeks ago now we finished up Spring Awakening, and now we're working on Gypsy, which is in April.
Yeah, so Mike's a thespian, and I know from my time doing that, it's not easy work. It takes a lot of time out of your schedule. So yeah, props to Mike for grinding that out. But happy to have him back on the show.
Happy to be back.
Bummed we couldn't do a Oscars recap together because I know we disagreed on a lot of the awards that went down, but nonetheless we are here for today's show, and boy, I think we have a bit of a doozy on our hands.
A bit of a doozy.
But I like to remind you guys on this show, we talk blockbuster movies, and we define blockbuster on the show as any movie that has that mainstream appeal. Any movie that is typically based on extensive source material, although not always, and it's a movie that the trailers alone, when they drop that teaser trailer that's 15 seconds, you're scrolling through Instagram and you see this 15-second teaser, you drop everything, you text your friend, you say, we got to go see this movie, we got to get tickets to this movie right now. Those are the kind of movies we talk on this show. And starting off, as always, we're going to go with our weekend box office recap. All right. Starting with the top 5. Number 1, How to Train Your Dragon: The Hidden World, making $30 million even, dropping 45%. Coming in at number 2 is Tyler Perry's A Madea Family Funeral. They're still making these movies, Mike, and it made $27 million in its opening weekend. Coming in at number 3 is Alita Battle Angel, making $7.2 million, dropping another 41%. Coming in at number 4 is The Lego Movie 2, the second part, making $6.6 million, dropping 31%. And rounding out the top 5, a personal favorite of mine, Fighting With My Family, making $4.6 million, dropping 40%. Mike, after listening to that list, what sticks out, what surprises you, and what do you think about the top 5?
Well, I'm kind of surprised that the Madea Family Funeral is above Alita Battle Angel. I think, that movie got mixed reviews, but I heard it was okay, pretty good. I still want to see it, but it's not surprising that How to Train Your Dragon is number 1. Those movies have always been pretty good, so it's nice to see that getting. And this is the last installment, I believe, so it deserves its spot at the top while it can. We've talked about the Lego Movie 2 kind of before, how the marketing wasn't as good. I've watched some stuff about that and how, a lot of people didn't see a lot of marketing. It's just not as good as the first one. But at least, it's still top 5. And it does, over at number 6, it looks like Green Book has boosted up, most likely because it won Best Picture.
Absolutely, yeah. Looking at the top 5, Alita Battle Angel, I talked about it the past couple weeks. It's kind of sad because this movie got rave critic reviews, pretty universally loved, from what I've seen. I know some people didn't enjoy it, but a lot of critics really enjoyed it, and it's a shame that these movies that the critics like, most movies that critics like are made for such little amounts of money. They're still profitable. Alita Battle Angel was a blockbuster movie through and through. It matches every aspect of our typical definition, and unfortunately, that big budget warranted a big box office haul, and it didn't get that. And so Alita Battle Angel, I think, is going to rely on its international box office in hopes for a sequel and eventually a franchise. Other stuff about the top 5, Fighting With My Family, beautiful indie movie. about Paige from the WWE. I raved about this movie last week because Mike wasn't here to kind of stop me from talking wrestling. But
have you seen it?
I actually have seen it, and I really enjoyed it. The Rock, producer on this movie. This was like a Rock passion project because basically he is semi-retired and he's never really been active while Paige is a wrestler, but he knows what it takes to get into the industry, and he fell in love with Paige's story, and he really made this movie happen. So even though he didn't direct or write it, he was the producer that emphasized this movie getting a big release. Because these type of movies, like, just watching the trailer alone, objectively, I would say it's a straight-to-DVD movie, but The Rock made sure that this movie got into theaters. And looking at its international box office, it currently has made, well, I don't have the international just yet, but it's made $15 million domestically, and I know it opened number 1 in the UK over the past weekend. And the budget hasn't been revealed, but it's a small scale movie, and I'm happy for it personally.
Yeah, that's great that smaller movies. I love when smaller movies get up to the top of the box office. It's definitely like for any wrestling fans are gonna come and want to see this, especially any Rock fans. So I think that's probably what it has going for it. It's got a lot of wrestling fans are gonna go see it. A lot of Rock fans are gonna go see it. Now people are like, oh, it's got good reviews. I'm gonna go see it. So that's probably why it's up there. Because personally, I wouldn't see it being in the top 5, but I think it's got a lot going for it, which is getting it up there.
Yeah, absolutely. It's one of those movies. Nonetheless, it's a festival movie that got that big domestic release, and even though it's not going to do anything impressive, it'll probably fall out of the top 5 next weekend. To just see it still in the top 5, making a nice $4.6 million, nothing too crazy. It's happy for me because hopefully I want to see more of these smaller scale stories. Because it is essentially a biopic, and, you know, there are biopics that don't have to be about, you know, these big presidential figures and, you know, big men of power. Like, they can be smaller scale, you know, oh, this wrestler who, you know, came from nowhere in the United Kingdom and, you know, made it to the big main stage of WWE and won the championship on her very first night. Like, that's a story that's worth telling, and hopefully we can hear more stories like that in the future. Hopefully Fighting With My Family's box office breeds more stories like that.
Yeah, definitely. And we're definitely going to see a big box office change when Captain Marvel releases very soon.
Yeah, absolutely. That movie's being released this upcoming Friday, and we're going to see a lot change with the box office there. Yeah, absolutely. We'll see what happens next weekend when Captain Marvel comes in, because even though a lot of people were anticipating it to bomb, I mean, no matter what people people said that online, and no matter what your thoughts are about the trailers, at the end of the day, it's a Marvel movie. It has 20 movies that have been box office successes behind it. It's not going to just fall off now. That Marvel attachment is going to get it you know, it's going to get it up there, absolutely. All right.
Yeah, I'm excited to see it.
Oh, yeah. Like, recently, especially today, I was sitting and working on some stuff, and, you know, Captain Marvel ads were coming up, and I found myself, like, I'm pretty excited for this movie, even though the trailers didn't really sell me that much. At the end of the day, it's still a Marvel movie. Those only come around 2 or 3 times a year, and so I think I'd be remiss to not have excitement, you know, especially because I've been told that the post-credit scene is like the most relevant Marvel post-credit scene that they've ever done, which is
Endgame.
Super, super enticing, and yeah, I'm excited, especially because I'm going to be on break, so I'll get to see this movie in my favorite movie theater back home, and yeah, so Captain Marvel this upcoming weekend. Showcase Cinema Deluxe over in Randolph, Massachusetts.
Oh, yeah.
Shout out that place. All right, with that being said, we're going to move on to our official first news story of the day, and it is a big one that shocked me completely. This comes from Variety. Idris Elba is joining the squad. Sources tell Variety that Elba is Warner Brothers' choice to replace Will Smith as Deadshot in the Suicide Squad sequel. Smith had to bow out of the upcoming DC Comics movie due to scheduling conflicts. We do know he's playing Serena and Venus Williams' father in an upcoming biopic, and the studio moved fast to find another proven A-lister to replace him shortly before production starts in September. It's currently unknown who will be joining Elba in the sequel, though many believe Margot Robbie will return as Harley Quinn. James Gunn was tapped to write and direct the film. The release date is currently set for August 6th, 2021, just around 2.5 years away. Alright, Mike, after me reading you that news, I just want to say, so I was in a forensics lecture when I got this news, and I thought at first that I had misread the headline, because usually, of course, I read the headline that Warner Brothers wants Idris Elba to play Deadshot in the Suicide Squad sequel, and I was like, well, yeah, like he's an A-lister in Hollywood. He's one of the top actors, top rising actors, top most demanded actors in Hollywood today. Why wouldn't they want him? And then I read the headline again, and it was, no, he's like signed on. And then I had to read the article, because a lot of times, people will say Idris Elba to play Deadshot, and then I'll miss like a question mark, because they'll just say a statement and they'll turn it into a question. Basically, like, I had to triple check my facts, and no, this is a Variety story. This is official. So Idris Elba has been recast as Deadshot in the upcoming Suicide Squad sequel, replacing Will Smith. So this wasn't like a Terrence Howard being replaced by Don Cheadle, who, Terrence Howard, a TV actor, being replaced by Don Cheadle, like a B-lister in Hollywood. This is one A-lister being replaced with another one. And, yeah, this news was huge.
Yeah, this is pretty crazy. Liam, the first time I heard this, you told me a couple minutes ago, and I'm still kind of, like, thinking it through. It's weird to me, though. Idris Elba is, like, he's much older than Will Smith.
Yep.
I mean, it's just, I don't know. I feel like he's definitely going to be able to probably act a little bit better as Deadshot. But that's so crazy, though. I mean, when Suicide Squad first came out, having Will Smith was such a big deal for them. They pushed it. His face was in all the posters, and I don't know how people are going to react to this. I mean, it's not really the same between War Machine, because he was a secondary character and became more important. But, like, Deadshot was one of the main squad members next to Harley Quinn.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
I mean,
and we were talking about how, like, they're changing up the squad, but it seems like Deadshot's staying in the squad, which makes no sense. If their actor was leaving, why you bring him back? I guess there was some, the script called for it, right?
Yeah, I was under the impression that, Margot Robbie would return as Harley Quinn, and that would be about it. But yeah, I guess most of what they're doing is focusing on the two main A-listers from that movie. And I mean, I would have thought that they would have had people return, like Jai Courtney's Captain Boomerang, who was a fan favorite. Kind of these inconsequential characters and actors that would be easy to lock down. I don't think it was smart to even put Deadshot in the script. But then again, it is James Gunn, and so I guess they did want to pander to his vision, which is, interesting, a studio pandering to a director. That's not proven, but if that is the case, that would surprise me, because, of all the Warner Brothers
proven
issues.
For James Gunn. I mean,
yeah, and so
he created it.
This kind of stuff, though, I mean, to me, it's a little disappointing as well, and I'll tell you why. Because when these big actors sign on to Marvel and DC movies, I always am excited to have them a part of the franchise, but then on the other hand, I wish they would play a bigger role. When Jake Gyllenhaal signed on to play Mysterio, I was stoked, and then I was like, yeah, but don't I want Jake Gyllenhaal to, play a reoccurring role, not like he's just going to be a one-time villain in a Spider-Man movie. I felt the same when Will Smith was cast as Deadshot. I was super excited, then I was like, but don't I want Will Smith to play someone bigger than Deadshot, like
Deadshot,
a C-list character, and now with Idris Elba,